Hello and welcome back to Everything in the TARDIS console. So, things continue to not go really as planned, and so these parts will be a bit more spread out than I intended them to be. With that said, let's continue with part 2 of my top 12 Big Finish ranges that are not Doctor Who. Though I will remind you that this list will include Doctor Who spin-offs. In fact, this part is all Doctor Who spin-offs, whereas the previous one was no Doctor Who spin-offs. This trend will not continue. But anyway, this part will of course include entries 9 through 7. So let's get going with the one that started it all. I am of course talking about Bernice Summerfield, which takes a spot at number 9. Now, I am not caught up with this range, which may or may not have affected its placement on this list. But irregardless, I'd feel like a failure of a Big Finish fan if I didn't include it. Following archaeologist from the future Bernice Summerfield, known to her friends as Benny, on her many adventures through space and occasionally time, it is among the most Doctor Who-like ranges on this list. That being said, I did find it to be somewhat less family-friendly, and Benny makes for a different kind of protagonist to the Doctor. The rest of the reoccurring cast is also not quite like the one you would find in Doctor Who, and it features one of my favorite characters, Irving Braxiatel. So, check this range out if you're in the mood for something a bit similar to Doctor Who, but still different. Moving on to number 8, Dalek Empire. Now, let's go into a bit of the context of this choice to give you a good idea what it means for me to place it here on this list. I am not the biggest Dalek fan. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't strictly dislike them as villains. But I never get hyped about them being in a story, and I have occasionally suffered from Dalek fatigue. I only started buying this range as part 1 happened to be on sale at a time when I was in a unusually Dalek positive mood, due to having just rewatched my favorite Dalek story from the TV show. And to my great surprise, I've ended up loving this range a lot more than I thought I would. I actually find the Daleks to be really interesting and threatening in this. My theory is that it's at least partly to do with the complete absence of the Doctor. I mean, like, he's defeated them so many times that I can't completely take them seriously as a threat to him anymore. Whereas in this range, we hear humanity and a couple other races struggle to survive and fight for their freedom under Dalek rule, which I find a lot more compelling than having the Doctor defeat them for the millionth time. I would even recommend this range to non-Doctor Who fans who find the premise interesting. Last up in this part, we have number 7, Gallifrey. This range is a great political drama with a sci-fi setting, led by 2 female characters who are very different from each other. I am talking about highly educated Time Lady and now Madam President of Gallifrey, Romana Dvoratre-Lunder, or Romana for short. As well as Leela of the Sever Team, a quote-unquote savage who acts on instinct rather than academic intellect and who's been chosen to be Romana's bodyguard, as she is quite a good fighter. I also love the rest of the characters, and not just because they happen to also include Irving Braxiatel, although that is a huge plus. So, if you're in the mood for some political drama with a great cast of diverse characters, I highly recommend this range. And that's it for part 2. See you in part 3!